for many migrant workers, the pandemic has also been synonymous with an increase in digital use, as several destination countries have made contact tracing apps mandatory for workers. In this context, it seems timely to look at how technology affects labor migration and how different stakeholders are using digital technologies to improve the experience of workers looking for opportunities abroad.
So there are many different linkages between labor migration and ICTs, with migrants making use of ICTs for different purposes at every step of their labor migration and recruitment journey. So migration is not only influenced and enabled by access to ICTs and their usage, but the International Organization for Migration has also recognized that ICTs have indeed become global drivers of migration, and a lot of recent research has explored the benefits surrounding what digital technology can deliver benefits for labor migration more broadly.
So overall, we found high levels of ICT usage throughout the migration process, but in many cases, this was primarily for social interaction, enabling workers to maintain transnational ties or create new ties in destination countries.
So similar to a shared economy approach that different platforms such as Yelp and TripAdvisor employ, a number of recruitment review sites have been developed over the past few years to crowdsource feedback from migrant workers on their overall experiences with recruitment agencies. So these platforms, one of which is ITUC's Recruitment Advisor, enable workers to rate and review agencies on the conditions and practices of recruitment that they faced on different dimensions, such as the fees and related costs that they had to pay, how the working conditions that they were promised up front compared to the actual conditions that they faced once they arrived on the job, and whether or not they would use this agency again. So just as how regular consumers would select or choose to avoid a restaurant or travel service, for example, based upon the presence of many good or bad reviews, the idea is that with sufficient scale and a lot of reviews provided about recruitment agencies, it can help migrants to make a more informed decision about whether or not to engage with an agency's services.
And that no one technology solution can solve all migration-related problems. Rather, a combination of thoughtfully designed tech solutions that address specific needs are likely to make the greatest positive impact on fair recruitment.
So first, and with relation to the MRA, it's really deeply connected to the empowerment and protection of workers. So it works to provide reliable information and this unique service to workers before, during, and after their migration journey. But because it's also working through the ITUC, this is a strategic entry point to promoting freedom of association as well. And that's really central to fair labour migration.
But there's another element which I think is important to the Recruitment Advisor, which is that it actually does gather data of the migrant workers and their recruitment experience, and offers to trade unions a data set that they can engage with towards governments or towards companies, recruiters, that actually can offer an analysis of what the exact problem is, in which sector, what the specific issues are, such as recruitment fees or contract substitution, pre-departure training issues, etc., so that they can use the data, again, not for commercial purposes, but the pure use of trying to improve regulation and enforcement when it comes to governments, and the practice when it comes to recruiters and employers. So with that, I think it shows very clearly that the Recruitment Advisor complements social dialogue and organizing and industrial relations as they exist, but can't really replace them. We still need a solid culture of social dialogue and collective bargaining that sustainably can improve on a longer term recruitment practices. So I think the key word is trust. It also came out of the research from Hannah and Michael, building trust between migrant workers and trade unions, and eventually the other stakeholders such as employers and the recruiters to really engage to improve the situation.
The point with technology is that in the end of the day, it is and remains a tool. It is there to support humans. It is not replacing humans. It is something that is enhancing the way we conduct our business, we conduct our work, we conduct our lives. So digital, in that sense, it being a tool, it adds a dimension to the conversation, but it not replaces the conversation that we were having before the implementation of the digital technologies. And then I think that's where the recruitment advisor comes in. It's about transparency and about scrutiny and about remedy. And that is that internet increases the transparency of the labor market, but also increases the transparency of connecting to the right information, connecting to the right partners. Of course, provided that you have the skills to do so, the basic digital literacy. But indeed, especially when it comes to recruitment, we need that transparency. And the recruitment advisor, the MRA, does provide a very good example of doing that.
The Central Organization of Trade Unions indeed embraced this idea and reached out to migrant workers to find and get information that was relevant for the Migrant Recruitment Advisor. From the reviews collected, as a trade union, we have identified gaps in the governance of labor migration that will enable us to push for reforms. We also realize the need for trade union to trade union engagement, most specifically in Kenya and countries of destination where Kenyan migrants go to work, to extend representation and protection of the rights of workers. We also realize that there should be continued education and training to sensitize these workers. As the earlier speaker mentioned, there's also a challenge of technology, so that workers can best understand how to utilize the Migrant Recruitment Advisor and be able to learn more and learn about fair recruitment practices that would safeguard them from future exploitation.
Because technology is a big trend, and we believe that in the future there will be more and more workers using technology, especially the recruitment advisor, to look for the information, the recruitment information. We also think that there's a really huge demand of the workers who are in the countries of origin, that they are looking for jobs in Hong Kong. They really need to, because they might not have people to ask around. So it's really important for them to have a transparent information and platform.
But through the use of chatbots, we hope to make it easier for migrant workers to submit reviews. As I said earlier, a lot of Filipinos actually use Facebook and Messenger. So by using chatbots in the Facebook page, in the Messenger, we're actually making MRA more accessible to them, instead of just simply using a website.
Hamsa is both a complaints mechanism and a documentation system. MFA uses Hamsa as a documentation system for to document abuses of migrant workers. And as a documentation system, we have started the system as early as 2007. The complaints mechanism was added at around 2018. So how does the process work? Earlier, it was explained that in MRA, the migrant workers review recruitment agencies, and after they review the recruitment agencies, if migrant workers have a complaint, they are directed to the MFA complaints mechanism. It is also an online system, and migrant workers can report complaints through the online complaints system. This complaint is received and verified by the MFA Secretariat. And once it is verified, it is referred to a local organization, a local partner who can support and assist the migrant worker. Through this process, we are able to support migrant workers who have complaints about the recruiter, or most often, it's not just the recruiter that they have complaints about. The recruitment violation just starts the abusive practice, but it leads to further abuse of migrant workers, including, in many cases, abuse in the workplace. And we have been receiving complaints about recruitment and also abuse of migrant workers in the workplace. As a complaints mechanism, it's not only migrant workers who can report cases in the complaints mechanism, but civil society, trade unions can also report cases of abuse of migrant workers if they know of any abuse of migrant workers. This system was developed in collaboration with the Human Rights and Documentation Information Systems, URIDOCS, an organization that facilitates documentation of human rights abuse. They help set up the technology, and we as MFA provide support and assistance to migrant workers who lodge complaints in the system.
And what we found that exorbitant came in two forms. One, exorbitant in recruitment fees, and exorbitant interest rates on loans to pay for the recruitment fees. And when we did this, we found out that the interest rates charged on loans to pay for recruitment fees went over 100%. That is unconscionable, unjust, and inhumane. So this is exactly why laborers get caught into this debt trap.
Finally, give a small plug to the IOE. Through their business advisory group on migration, they've been helping companies like mine and trying to find solutions for the migration problems. COVID, like everybody has said before, has changed the game, right? And in-person interviews have basically died. Who's going to risk it? Which HR manager is going to risk interviewing 50 people for a job, in this environment? So we had to address those changes, and we've added video technology, evaluation technology, which is very important for migrant workers when they reach the destination markets and they're not able to get a job that actually fits their profile, right? Or their career. So we're providing that. And lately, the latest technology we launched is a live events platform for job interviews that actually we opened up a week and a half ago in the Dominican Republic with great success, and which allows the live, direct, one-to-one interaction between the candidate and the employer, and also that candidate to understand it with other peers and chat and understand if that employer is the right for them. So.
employees or the job seekers have with the employers, the larger the possibility of improving the migration experience and reducing the possibility of any fees being paid or any unethical practices being involved. Presently, we are only using currently existing freeware platforms, technologies during various stages of the recruitment. One such thing that we've tested just recently, a couple of months ago, was for the job advertisement. And what we've done is we've approached the training centers that exist at the village level. We've taken from them the data. These are skilled training centers where they upskill workers, blue-collar workers. So we've approached these training centers. We've taken the data or the contact numbers for the job seekers or the people that do come there for the training. We've created an advertisement for these about our job advertisement, and we've sent this across WhatsApp to these number of workers that were participating in the skills training. Similarly, we are using during the orientation stage that happens on the interview dates or of our interviews, we are using Zoom and Skype calls to have a direct conversation between employees and workers' welfare representatives in Qatar, our employees, and the new recruits, where they have a closed door one-on-one conversation where they can inquire about their working and living conditions, the recruitment practice, and whether when we claim that it's free recruitment, if it's actually being practiced, and what they need to do in case they have some challenges during the recruitment processes.
Our training starts with soft skills where workers are guided to visualize their goals and their dreams, and they put it on paper and start making a financial plan. We then introduce them to how safe migration looks like, which includes workers' rights based on the ILO principles and information on where workers can take recourse in case of abuse. Then we also talk about migration adaptation, the realities and expectations of being far away from their family, and also the cultural differences and the coping mechanisms that they can do. Then we go to modules on professionalism, which include how they present themselves, how important hygiene is, how you can communicate with your employers and your co-workers, and how you show professional behavior and manners. And last but not the least is the ability wherein which hard skills, which include country-specific training. We used to do this training in person, but when the pandemic started, we quickly had to shift to a blended form of training, which was online and face-to-face training.